Hello, it's Nick Nielsen here again for another edition of our 11 Days of Remembrance, along with the curator of the Southeast Military Museum, Craig Bird. And I understand today, Craig, we're talking about an early form of night vision devices.
Yeah, believe it or not, early in World War II, the British developed night vision. 4 years before the Americans developed their night vision systems, the British had it, and kind of used it for some different things. We have kind of the Navy SEALs of the time, the Combined Operations Pilotage Parties, or COPs as they were called. They were amphibious men and women that would go out. They would covertly and at night check, for example, beaches before the raids on Dieppe and on D-Day. They would go out and take measurements of the sand, the depth of water, coastal defenses, that sort of thing. But they needed a way to be able to signal that back to the people on the ships. So what would happen was, on the ship they would have this night vision device. The parties that would go out and take the measurements would have this specialized flashlight that have what we call a Morse key. So it was a little thing that you could tap to flash the lights to send signals. It had a special filter on it so that it could only be seen with the night vision device, and they would send all that information back. Because they were under the watchful eye of the enemy at the time, they didn't want to be spotted. It was all covert, so they could go out, do their measurements, and do their drawings of the beach areas, take samples, and send all that information back, then get into their little rubber dinghies and head back to the ship without alerting the Germans what they were doing, in the middle of the night. And most of the time they would do this under the cover of darkness. They also wanted to do it so there was no moonlight to reflect them and see, so you needed some way to do that at night. Fortunately, I actually have a unit here that I was able to get out of the UK. They were so top secret at the time that I've never been able to find an instruction manual. They still haven't declassified these
really?
by the government, so they're still under top secret clearance. But the gentleman that I got mine from actually took his apart and made it work. So he gave me the instructions. I was able to take mine, and it's actually a working model. So there's only 2 of them in the world that are known to still work, mine and this other gentleman in the UK. And I've seen maybe 3 or 4 of them that come up for sale during my 30 years of collecting. So they're a very rare item, and just a sample of the technology of that time period. And when they were used by the military, they were under strict instructions to not to fall into enemy hands, and if they were to destroy it so that the Germans couldn't get that technology. So
It's such a classified weapon, or not a weapon, but piece of equipment rather, that there's only 2 we know of that work in the world now, and still people don't really know how they work still.
Well, and that's the thing. They're all ultra top secret, and they were, like I say, all of their spy missions and the clandestine things that they did, like for the OSS and that sort of thing. They were not really well known. They weren't publicized within the military, and they were just used for specialized operations so that they could see what was going on at night, which gave them a huge advantage. The Germans did eventually develop their own night vision system, but again, because of resources and abilities, they weren't widespread and didn't get put out for general use.
So things like, or battles like D-Day probably couldn't have been as successful as they were without things like this.
That's correct. The men and women that went out to gather all this information, as well as providing it back to the headquarters so that detailed plans could be developed, and the ideal places so that they could bring amphibious equipment, tanks, landing craft, and make sure that they were able to land their men as best they could.
Well, it's a very, very rare piece of history that we have right here at the Southeast Military Museum. Again, Craig, thank you very much for the lesson today. Be sure to check out another one that we have for you on discoverestevan.com tomorrow.